Okay, bear with me for a moment, people. Apparently, as I'm streaming, my PC idles, so I apologize. This is a huge disruption, and I don't want to be jamming. And this thing decides to shut down again. So, as you can see, I'm still getting the kinks. Multimedia. Okay. Still getting the kinks out of this. But that's all right. Okay, so let's go to our power settings. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. I think that'll do it. All right. So I hope that does it. Okay, the only thing I have to get back on track is my chat. All right. So again, I do want to apologize for that. But again, discussing Israel and Gaza and the campaign, bombing campaign Israel is inflicting on Gaza as a result of the October 7th attack on Israel by the terrorist group Hamas, which is, a horrible thing, obviously. The retaliation that Gaza has been experiencing, by the hands of the Israel government is just atrocious, and it's heavy-handed. And it's unbalanced, and it's not symmetrical in any way, shape, or form. Those people are being massacred for no reason. So that being said, if yeah, what if they were all blown away? What would we do? What would we do? We would create another day like MLK Day, you know, and lift our glasses every year. And outside of that, how would our lives be truly affected by this? Another story to tell? Another bullet point to lame it? Y'all tell me, man. What's the point of it all? What's the point of it all at the end of the day? Gaza wins. Israel wins. Who really won? Guess that's the real question. Who's really winning? 147 some odd $1 million to go to Israel to prime 155 millimeter. Am I saying that right? Millimeter shells just to cause more death and destruction and heartache. And that's what we are about. That's what we are allowing our politicians to do, you know, it's a system that we create. We allow money in our politics. Therefore, come on. What's the end game? What's the end game? What's the end game? What would serve America more? That strip of land or the people on that land? I don't know, something to think about. Something to think about. You know, I guess it would serve them more if there were people there. Because unless we're trying to, you know, claim this piece of land, I mean, if it's vital. It's vital. What did my man Blinken said? Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, he said, and it is vital to the U.S. national interest to ensure Israel is able to defend itself against the threats that it faces. Why? Why and how is the question. I mean, I don't give a shit about Israel, to be honest. I mean, aside from this story, when does Israel ever cross my mind? Like never. So, but I'm not the nation. I mean, I can only speak for myself, right? So I'm just trying to understand. Ask yourself, how often do you think of Israel every day? Or have in your entire life? I don't know. I just think it's a bunch of bullshit. But, you know, what can you do? What can you do? So, you know, speaking of Israel, the Israeli Supreme Court has decided that they aren't going to allow for the Netanyahu, the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, to essentially limit their authority. So the Prime Minister of Israel, whose name is Benjamin Netanyahu, was trying to essentially do like an overhaul of the judicial branch of government in Israel, stating things like, you know, essentially, you know, these are, you know, activist jurists or whatever, and they're just, you know, they're not speaking for the people, even though, you know, people's what, you know, push them into their position. But let's go off. Let's see what they're saying here. So, the ruling by Israel's top court sets up a possible constitutional crisis. Here's what's to know. In a momentous ruling that could ignite a constitutional crisis, Israel's Supreme Court on Monday struck down a law passed by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's right-wing government that was meant to limit the court's own powers by a majority of 8 judges to 7. By the way, they got a ton of judges on their Supreme Court. 8 to 7. Whew. That's a lot. We need to have that many in our country, in the U.S. There needs to be way more justices than just, what is this, 9 now? That is ridiculous. The decision is likely to rekindle the grave domestic situation that began a year ago over the government's judicial overhaul plan, which sparked mass protests that brought the country to a near standstill at times, even as Israel is at war in Gaza. So I think, scrolling down here, yeah, they had some crazy protests last year as a result of Netanyahu's attempt to overhaul the judicial branch and make it so that he could have more power to, you know, dictate how the country is ran. I mean, that's all these people care about is power, man. And it's so wild that stuff that is so, like, you know, I'm a little older, And hold on, I just forgot something. This is what happens when you just push stream. You just get fed up, and you don't even pay attention to what you got going on. That is it. So I just got fed up, man. I was like, man, I gotta record something, damn. All right. Anyway, so yeah, man. Listen, it's just it's crazy, man. It's like there's these forces out there, these forces of good and evil, if you will. All right, and it's just the way it is, man. You got individuals who see the threat, which is this fanatical right wing, uh, religious, theocratic type of, you know, I mean, you essentially just got a group of people who just want to tell everyone else what to do, right? And then those people, so like you got the Democratic and Republican Party, right? So you got a Republican Party, a right wing party that states that essentially America has a culture, all right, all right, and that culture comes from a history of exploration, conquering, controlling, building, reaping the fruits of all that is sown. You know what I'm saying? Creating, innovating. All right. And and then from there we got into this culture of influencing, and it is kind of wild that America. I mean, I think that I don't think America is the guiding light of the world, like especially with like slavery and all that. Like they weren't, America wasn't the first place to end that practice. We fought a war to end it, but was wars necessary everywhere else that slavery was, eventually, the practice of it was no longer in vogue. You know what I'm saying? Became taboo. I don't believe wars were fought every time that a civilization decided to stop doing that. Society decided to stop doing that. But anyway, I'm glad a war was fought though. If that's what it took, then hell yeah. But again, we fought a war, to stop slavery. You know what I mean? And to get everyone in line with the overall vision of the United States, of what the United States was trying to become. It's very interesting that we've strived over all these years to be a more democratic and open society. And in so doing so, we've opened up ourselves to this wave of, of conservatism. It's just like a pushback. Like they see the writing on the wall. They understand that, over the course of a couple of years, the demographic that primarily is in the Republican Party, for instance, is primarily they're white. They saying that after a couple of years, man, they're going to be the minority in America. They seeing an influx of all these different people coming from all over the world, and it's scary. I can understand, how that could appear to be scary to some people. But what's interesting is I think a lot of people focus on the wrong things. Like they're more focused on the demographic of the country changing and how that's going to change the overall feel of America. But 9 times out of 10, man, it's like I mean, you could throw a lot of stuff, logic stuff at that. You could throw at the fact that a lot of these people aren't going to really live long enough to see what those changes are really going to turn out to be. Especially a lot of your fervent individuals who just have issues with all types of anything that involves like immigration. Those kind of people, like, no offense, man, but it's like if your livelihood is definitely being affected, which I can understand. Like, for instance, let's say you're in Farmville and you know all these immigrants coming in, being paid lower labor costs, da 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 da. That probably in many ways maybe have drowned some people out. And for those individuals, I could see how immigration is a tangible issue. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a real issue. Um, and it's like, well, that's capitalism. It's like in this game that we're creating, and we're saying, hey, you need to have money and this that and the third to survive. Then it's a dog eat dog world, and a lot of people who probably were at the top of the food chain at one point, they're starting to see that foundation crumble because markets move. And sometimes you're at the top, sometimes you're at the bottom, man. It's just a gamble, man. And some people see that if they were to get in front of it, meaning get in front of it by stopping certain people from getting in and stopping certain people from having certain privileges, stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's always about stopping others from having something. That's what the Republican Party is really about. It's like you're worried about all these people, but it's like you're going to die and be forgotten, and these people are still going to come and thrive, and you're not even going to be a memory, really. It's kind of wild. Um, or better yet, it doesn't even really affect you. A lot of these people who cry about things about demographic changes and all that, they're not going to be affected by any of that. Um, they live in a backwater town, and they may have some people up there, that came, but who encouraged that? I mean, people who looking for work are only going to go where work is. So if you see a lot of people that don't look like you and they getting it in, they work, you know what I'm saying? They handling their business, then I don't know who's signing them checks. They eating somehow. And 9 times out of 10, that's your buddy. That's your buddy there, hooking them up with a job. Anyway, moving on. Federal judge accepts withdrawing Georgia congressional and legislative districts that were favored to GOP. Here we go again. So, a while back, I think it was Georgia. Yep. So we're talking about Georgia here. So on Wednesday, let me go ahead and swing that back over here. A federal judge on Wednesday accepted new Georgia congressional legislative voting districts that protect Republican partisan advantages. So before this, they had to do this. They had to do this like 2-3 times because the judge kept kicking it back. They could change the map of congressional districts, and so doing so, they can take a district that was leaning one way or another, like whether leaning Republican or Democrat, or whichever, wherever, and by shifting the shape of the district, they can encompass or leave out certain types of neighborhoods that have a primary certain demographic. So let's say here's a row of black neighborhoods and here's a row of white neighborhoods, whereas a district may have encompassed a good portion of both neighborhoods. So when voting took place, there was a pool of different people who with different perspectives, so you get a more general based decision on the type of candidate that was bred out of that area. Whereas obviously you have Republican districts and you have Democratic districts, and they like to map those districts to encompass as many people who vote for their party. You know what I'm saying? So there's probably more to that, but I'm not reading into all that. It's just basically These fools are trying to do everything they can in order to get an edge in their districts. So they draw the districts in a way that they encompass more voters for their party, or whereas they leave out certain individuals so they don't really have a voice within their party. Not within their party. Well, yes, within their respective party. Okay, so U.S. District Judge Steve Jones, in 3 separate but similarly worded orders, 3 times rejected claims that the new maps didn't do enough to help black voters. Jones said he couldn't interfere with legislative choices, even if Republicans moved to protect their power. The maps were redrawn in a recent special legislative session after Jones in October ruled that a prior set of maps illegally harmed black voters. All right, so it says they're likely to keep their same 9-5 Republican majority among Georgia's 14 congressional seats, while also retaining GOP majorities in the state Senate and the House. The maps added the black majority districts that Jones ordered in October, including 1 in Congress, 2 seats in the state Senate, and 5 seats in the state House. But they radically reconfigured some Democratic-held districts that don't have black majorities, including Democratic. Yeah, so you see how they can add, but they can also cut out. So is what it is, man. Listen, these people ain't going to quit, man. So they're going to consistently try to, do things that are going to help them retain power, because they can't do it any other way, aside from scheming. You got a Republican Party that wants to keep the world where it is, or bring it back to a place where the focus is only on social issues, so much to the point that that's the only thing that's being discussed. So you can't see what they're doing in the back room. So you can't see what they're doing with the money. So you can't see them slashing regulations, and making it harder for the environment to sustain itself, making it harder for, regular Joe Schmoes to make a living. Imagine, like seriously, look at how impactful this year's Congress has been. What has this Congress, well, especially since the Republicans took over, what has been done? Even when Democrats had the House for a quick second, they passed a few things, but things were kind of milquetoast. So it's like Congress as a total, I'm talking about Republicans and Democrats, because like Democrats, they got issues too, for sure, man. Like, yeah, they the ones talking about they want to be all inclusive, blah, 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 but they don't do anything substantial. Little crumbs. Little crumbs. And the next story I'm going to talk about is going to really emphasize that AIPAC. So here we go, talking about Israel again. AIPAC targets black Democrats while the Congressional Black Caucus stays silent. All right, it's on The Intercept. This story is a couple months old, but I just wanted to get back. I want to talk about this. It's pretty interesting. Let's see here. So I just want to pull this up. This is an article written back in September in The Intercept. Right here, it says AIPAC and its Republican donors are intentionally targeting progressive members of the Congressional Black Caucus with right-wing primary challenges, said Alexandra Rojas, the executive director of Justice Democrats, who has backed all 5 CBC members from the squad. The CBC and every caucus in Congress has an opportunity now to demonstrate their power and stand up for all incumbents against AIPAC's role in funneling GOP dollars into Democratic primaries. So, yeah. And always don't get it twisted. There's a lot of Democrats getting that AIPAC money. And that's the reason why a lot of people in the Black Caucus, Congressional Black Caucus, ain't saying nothing really. But yeah, man, like it's crazy the fervor against progressives. Like we get a really bad rap. They not trying to. They're really not trying to make the machine better. You understand? It's like there's a status quo, and it's like they really just want everyone to struggle, or they want that have not mentality to thrive. You know, what good would it do? What good would it do if everybody ate? That's the question, right? What good would it do if everybody got a meal? If everyone had a roof over their head? I mean, listen, there's going to be winners and losers, right? So think about that. Who wins if everyone has a meal, in their belly? Who wins if everyone has a roof over their head? Who wins? I think who loses? Who loses? Man, I'm trying to tell you. A lot of people lose. You know, a lot of people lose. You got law enforcement will lose because obviously, if everyone got a food in their belly and a roof over their head, I mean, who's stealing? I mean, I'm not saying it will never happen, but who's really doing it as often as it is when they ain't got it? If there's more haves than nots, who's losing? Those who only existence is there to subjugate. We have a organization called ICE because we're deciding to subjugate people who want to move around the world freely. Man, we got all these different tongues, and it's kind of jacked up. Man, if we could all speak the same language, how wouldn't wouldn't that help? If we could all at least communicate with each other. I mean, technology was supposed to help with that, and we still ain't figuring it out. It's like we just so stuck in our ways, man. But no, man, like Democrats, they be bugging too, man. Like I don't personally care about any of the social stuff. Essentially, uh, well, I guess what pissed me off about Democrats mostly is the corruption, in Congress, in the Senate, and how they are really just ruled by the same overlords that a lot of people in the Republican Party are ruled by. Like they just give some of them. They're just so weak. They don't defend the facts the way they should. They're not out, on TV, really plugging the details and ensuring that the general public is aware of what's really happening. It's kind of like they are part of that system, you know? And, you want to talk about the stuff that they cry about. Uh, a lot of that stuff I don't care. So the stuff that they talk about, gay people, transgenders, and those who have dysphoria, gender dysphoria, all that kind of stuff. Like, those are people. I don't judge people like that if they are different. I just don't, because them being whoever they are ain't hurting nobody. It ain't hurting nobody. So I don't care. Like, as long as you're not hurting nobody, and I ain't talking about somebody's feelings. I'm talking about as long as you ain't hurting somebody, like, you know what I'm saying? Then mind your damn business. That person ain't doing nothing to you. They just existing like you're existing. Move on. Go about your day. All right. If you observe something done that is wrong, like somebody being harmed physically, emotionally, that could be by anybody, then yeah, maybe you want to get in front of that. But nah, for the most part, ain't nobody care, man. It's like, just go about your day. You're gonna die, bro. It's like you don't have that much time. It's like you really want to spend. You got 80 years. Let's say you get 80 years on Earth, 90 years, whatever. That's it. That's all you get. Maybe you won't even get that far. Maybe you only get 70 or 60 or 50, God forbid, 50 something. And you will want to spend a moment, any of that time hating somebody else that hasn't done anything to you. Mm-hmm. Hating somebody else that hasn't done anything to you, hating the existence of somebody else that hasn't done anything to you. You want to waste time on that? Oh my God! Good luck, man. I think that's a huge waste. A huge waste. it's like such a. It's like such a. It's just pathetic, man. It's like, yo, you really have nothing to live for. So you're going to make life difficult for a complete stranger. Because apparently I don't know. Apparently, them, uh, doing them essentially hurts you to the core so much. How pathetic is that? How pathetic is that? You know that your existence is dictated so much by individuals who don't even know you exist. That's how that's how pressed you are. I don't know. I think that's kind of pathetic. That's just my opinion. I think you could figure out something to do with your day. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure you could if you think about it. I'm sure you could figure out something to do with your day. Find a hobby, man. You know what I mean? Like there's so much you could do with your time that and this is what I'm realizing. You don't gotta hate nobody. You know, you don't. You ain't gotta do all that. You know. Oh, I know it's whack. I mean, what else is one supposed to say to this? It's like you ain't got nothing going on for you. Like what's so you going to sit there and just chastise other people? Like you got people who care about. Oh my God, there's just so many. Oh, but I guess I don't know. What does that say about me? Like if I'm not, because to some people, this is all they talk about. They talk about the border a lot. They talk about the border a lot. They go off on the border like, oh man, we got to protect our borders. Without a border, we don't have a country. Oh, Jesus. It's like, yo, you finite, 80 years, 70 years. And you worried about the border, man? What are you doing? What are you talking about? Your life is going to come and go like this, like that. And you're worried about the border? You have no life. I don't know, mate. I can't say that's a relative, right? That's relative. That's your life. That's what you choose to do with your life. That's what you bring into the table. Jeez, it's just such a. I don't know, guys. I don't know. I don't know. I just think it's sad You got people who are just bent on making other people feel less than. Less than. I just want them to follow laws. I just want them to follow the law. Don't do it illegally. Like, who are you? You nobody. Who are you to tell anyone what, especially those individuals who did not get the same kind of upbringing as you. And your upbringing probably wasn't even all that. You know what I'm saying? And yet you still think that's the way. I just think that's bonkers, man. It's like 9 times out of 10, no matter what, how you were brought up into this world, 9 times out of 10, it was probably better than that person that you're trying to tell, how they can live, where they can live, what country is theirs, what country is not theirs. Like, you don't own nothing, man. You're a nobody. You're holding a slot. You're holding a slot, and then eventually you will be evicted from that slot, like everyone else in the world is eventually. That's life. So, like, get over it, man. Get off of it. But anyway, I'm gonna get off this thing because it's getting late. Just wanted to put some things out, talk about a few things that crossed my mind. I'm sure that I'm gonna attempt to do this more and more often. I want to at least do this at least once a week. Just want to stick to that, and put out some stories, man. Just talk about some of the topics that are going on. I want to discuss, I don't know. Maybe I'll do like a running thing where I'll, just come on here whenever to talk about whatever's popping that day. But I definitely do want to produce more content and put out more views, about the topics of the day and the things that affect us on a daily, and just really just have conversations about anything, man. I don't really know what I'm doing on this thing. I watch a lot of online commentary, a lot of independent media. I don't know if I want to be a news guy, but I do want to talk about the news, and I definitely want to, I guess I want to have more engagement with others. So as I move along and do more streams, I'm going to start figuring out ways to interact and engage with more people so I could have more engagement on my stream, because that's really what I want. I want people to talk to me and holler back and give me their perspectives, and let's have real discussion about these topics that a lot of people don't really know about, and I'm not the most, I may not know about, either. So let's read into it together. Let's learn together so we could get to the bottom of the stuff, and let's start really figuring out, how we can break through to people with media literacy in mind, and let's start agreeing on what the facts are. Let's start agreeing on, what the truth is, so we can, move beyond some of these issues that I personally think are beneath us as a race of intelligent beings. So we're supposed to be way ahead from where we currently are. We were on a decent track, I think 6-7 years ago. I think we were on the right track. We were starting to get there, and we allowed we allowed evil to prevail in a lot of ways. We didn't watch our necks, and I'm talking about like a lot of those assassinations, like just a lot of stuff that went down that didn't have to happen. That if it had not, I believe I know the U.S. for sure would have been a better place by now. And we probably would have, you probably would already be on Mars. We probably already be on the moon. You know what I'm saying? But we're doing it to ourselves. And I guess what I'm trying to really figure out is, there are definitely people in the world who, no matter what, if you showed them a future where everything was better, um, there's probably some people in the world who would say no to that because of what they think the world being better means. I mean, for me, it would be essentially treat others how you expect to be treated. And if you can't live by those rules, all right, then there really isn't a place for you in society. Straight up. Like, and I mean, is that really hard? You murder somebody, then that ain't, that ain't the right way to go. You molest somebody, that ain't the right way to go. You rape somebody, that ain't the right way to go. Like, you do anything to somebody, do something to somebody. You know what I'm saying? You sitting there verbally abusing them all day long, that ain't the way to go. You know? But outside of those parameters, man, I mean, you guys should be able to debate and discuss things. Even if you agree to disagree, that's fine, but you can look each other in the eye, shake hands, whatever, be out. All right. But at the end of the day, we should not, as a human race, be subjugating each other in any way because it's stupid. We're all on this little rock spinning in this chaos. Okay. And it's just so nonsensical to have so much vitriol for each other in this one world that we all live on. It's pathetic. It's pathetic. And at the end, you're going to die. And you want, like, it's like, honestly, even if you had a few successes, a few wins, whatever, man, you really, over the scheme, you haven't accomplished nothing. Nothing. You were just a cog. You're just a cog, man. You could do better than that. You can do better than be a cog, bro. You could, you could just live, man, and not be so damn stressful. You could just be happy for other people. You could change things about your life to put yourself in a better position to where you ain't got to be envious of the next man or, have hate in your heart for the next person and the successes that they bring, the fruit that they bring in their lives. You ain't got to stress over that type of stuff, man. I definitely going to have to get my replacement rat. But, yep, call it a night. I really appreciate those of you who have watched. And I will do better at this in the future. All right. Y'all have a good night.